I walked into my bedroom and found my brother in bed with my wife smiling like they owned the world. In that second, every illusion about love and family shattered, leaving nothing but ice-cold fury in my veins. My name is Daniel Hopper. I grew up just outside Boston, in one of those neighborhoods where the lawns were neat and the families looked perfect from the street. 2 kids, a golden retriever, laughter echoing at dusk. But if you peeled back the painted shutters, if you stood in the corners where the cold drafts sneaked through, you'd have seen a different kind of home. The kind where love was doled out in rations, and nothing you did was ever enough. I was the older brother, the test run, the backup plan. Ethan was the main event. Mom used to joke that he lit up the room, and he did, in that way hurricanes steal the spotlight from quiet summer days. He collected trophies for sports he barely trained for, basked in applause that should have been shared, and always had an excuse waiting when things went sideways. When I brought home and ate, it vanished beneath the glare of Ethan's latest miracle 3rd-place ribbon. If I asked for help, I got a pat on the shoulder. When he screwed up, he got a hug. I remember my 10th birthday my parents forgot. Ethan had the flu and everyone fussed over him. I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a plain cupcake I'd made myself, feeling ridiculous for expecting candles. That's where it started, this silent promise to myself. I'd work twice as hard, try twice as much, and maybe, eventually, someone would see me. Maybe I'd matter. That desperation bled into everything. School, friends, the summer jobs I took just to prove I could. I became the fixer, the one who cleaned up Ethan's messes, covering for his lies, smoothing things over with teachers, patching what he broke. Whenever he crashed the car, it was my fault for not watching out for him. During family dinners, I learned to bite my tongue until my gums bled. There were moments, tiny, sharp memories, when I almost believed things could change. The summer before college, when Dad handed me the keys to his old sedan and almost looked proud. The night Ethan got caught shoplifting, and for a flicker of a second, he was the troubled one and I was the star. But it never lasted. Apologies morphed into explanations, and soon enough, everything returned to its ugly, familiar balance. Leaving home felt like being released from a cage. I applied to universities halfway across the country, desperate for distance. When an opportunity opened in Seoul after graduation, a leap into the unknown, I took it without looking back. Halfway around the world, nobody called me Ethan's brother. Nobody remembered the silences at our dinner table or the shame of being overlooked. But you can never truly shed family. Even with oceans and time zones between us, Mom would call, her voice syrupy with concern for Ethan's latest trouble. He's just lost. Daniel, he needs you. Sometimes I'd hear Lindsay, my then fiancée, talking to Ethan on the phone, her laughter echoing down the hall. She felt sorry for him. Everyone did, eventually. Lindsay was my soft place to land, or so I wanted to believe. For a while, she made the ghost retreat. Her love felt like sunlight, something I deserved after all that grey, hungry striving. We'd lie awake at night, planning a future kids, the home, freedom from the old hurts. When we married and moved back to Boston, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could build something new. Something clean. But Ethan, he drifted back, gentle at first. Apologies, promises, that little boy vulnerability my parents always swooned over. Lindsay welcomed him, woven through with pity and hope, and I, fool that I am, I let it happen. I convinced myself family could heal, that maybe the 3 of us could write the script. Deep down, though, a voice kept whispering, nothing has changed. They will always choose him. And the most dangerous thing I ever did was ignore that voice, believing I'd finally escaped my own history. It started small, the way rock creeps under a painted fence, quiet, insidious, easy to wave away. If I focus, I can pinpoint the first time I felt the walls of my own home start to turn against me. Lindsay laughing a little too easily at one of Ethan's dumb jokes. Ethan showing up with takeout on nights when he knew I'd be working late, cozying up on the couch with her, pretending he just wanted to catch up. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself I was tired. But deep down, I heard that old voice, nothing has changed. I never meant to spy on my own family. But one evening, after another stretch of sleepless nights on the living room couch, I found myself scrolling through the footage from our new security cameras. It was supposed to keep us safe, a little peace of mind after the break-ins in the neighborhood. But what I saw froze my veins. Ethan's car pulling up when Lindsay said she was just taking a nap. The 2 of them disappearing into our bedroom. The footage skipped flicker and then there. They weren't even being careful. His hand on her back. Her smile, the one she used to give me. I sat there, my body numb, the video looping over and over while the world outside went on like nothing had happened. For a moment, my mind tried to reason it away. Maybe Ethan was comforting her. Maybe it looked worse than it was. But the audio, her soft laughter, the way he murmured her name, the gasp that punched the air out of the room now. There was no maybe. Rage unfurled in my chest, thick and oily. It wasn't just the betrayal I'd lived through that my whole life, wearing it like a weighted blanket. It was the fact that it was Ethan again, worming his way into the only place I'd ever felt even a little bit safe. The only thing I'd ever truly built for myself. When Lindsay came home later that night, I almost said nothing. I almost swallowed it like every other injustice, pretended it wasn't happening just to survive another day. But I couldn't, not this time. Not after watching my own brother in my bedroom with the woman I'd sworn to protect. Our daughter's stuffed bunny still on the bed between them. She saw the look on my face, and I saw the guilt stutter across hers. She was tired. She smelled like Ethan's cologne. I asked, voice barely more than a raw whisper, "Where were you?" She flinched. "I just went for a walk, needed air." He'll lie. So smooth, so practiced. I said nothing, just handed her my phone, a file already pulled up. As she pressed play, her face crumbled. She dropped the phone like it burned. "I was going to tell you," she whispered, tears already brimming. "Daniel, I never meant for..." "For what? For me to find out? For it to be Ethan?" My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. In that moment, I didn't recognize either of us. She started to cry. I didn't comfort her. The next day, it rained one of those relentless Boston downpours that beats against the windows like the world wants in. Ethan showed up unannounced, letting himself in as if he owned the place. He had the nerve to look nervous, shifting from foot to foot as if unsure whether to offer me a handshake or a hug. "Daniel," he started, all wide-eyed earnestness, the same look that used to earn him get-out-of-jail-free cards from Mom and Dad. "Can we talk?" I stared at him. "About what? My wife or my life?" He had the grace to look ashamed, but his eyes darted past me to where Lindsay sat hunched at the kitchen table, gripping a mug so hard I thought it might shatter. "I'm sorry," he said. But it sounded practiced. Obligatory. He always was a gifted actor. My fist clenched at my sides. "Did you even think about what you were destroying, or was that part of the thrill?" He flinched, but then shrugged, already slipping into self-pity. "I didn't mean for it to happen. My mind fractured a little, memories overlaying this moment, birthday parties missed, accusations swallowed. Every single time he'd taken something from me and Mom had called it boys being boys. I'd spent my whole life cleaning up his wreckage. Now it was my home, my marriage. I wanted to hit him. Instead, I just stared. "Get out," I said, barely hearing myself. He didn't fight. He lingered, though, the way he always did, as if expecting me to forgive him again. He grabbed his jacket. "Mom and Dad, they'll want to help. Just don't make this ugly, okay?" That almost made me laugh. As if ugly wasn't woven into our DNA. After he left, silence settled like ash in the house. Lindsay sobbed quietly upstairs. I stared out at the grey Boston sky, my mind racing, and knew there was no going back. I realized, bitterly, that it was never about Lindsay or even Ethan, not really. It was about me finally seeing that I'd always been alone in my own family. 2 days later, Lindsay sat me down. Her eyes were hollow. She was pregnant. "It's his," she whispered, but there was a tremor in her voice, a thin hope that I wouldn't ask, that I'd believe her, that I'd still save her from the fallout. I felt the urge to scream, to tear at the walls, to break everything in sight. I did none of those things. Instead, I let her finish, and in her silence, I heard the final nail hammered into the coffin of my old life. When I went to my parents, desperate for the truth, for some measure of loyalty, they looked at me with pity. "Ethan's been through a lot, Daniel," Mom said. "You're always so strong. He needs us now more than ever. You should be helping him. You should be helping Lindsay." Dad didn't even meet my eyes. Somewhere in that kitchen, between my parents' disappointment, Lindsay's tears, and Ethan's cowardice, my heartbreak calcified into something colder. The boy who'd waited for candles he never got died right then, and the man who took his place knew exactly what to do with all that pain. I watched their faces as the video played on the TV, Ethan pacing the living room, Lindsay curled beside him, both of them wide-eyed and pale like kids caught with their hands in a broken jar. My hand shook, but my voice didn't. I pressed pause on the damning frame, Ethan's arm around her waist, lips hovering just inches from her ear, our wedding portrait mocking us all from the wall behind them. "You still want to deny it?" My own voice sounded foreign. Angry, yes, but also exhausted as soaked in years of being told I was imagining things, in this house and every house before it. Lindsay started to sputter. "Hey Daniel, please, I swear I never..." I laughed at a sharp, ugly sound. "Save it, I've got every minute logged." I turned to Ethan. "You want to say something now, or should I cue up the audio?" He didn't meet my eyes. Instead, he glanced at Lindsay, at the floor, anywhere but me. "I'm sorry, man, I really am. I couldn't..." "You couldn't what? Control yourself?" My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my head, drowning out the cold rain outside battering the windows. "You couldn't let me have a single damn thing. Not a job, not a birthday, not even my wife." His face twisted to something between pity and resentment. "You don't understand, Dan. She came to me. She said you were cold. That you..." I stepped closer, fist clenched, every muscle taut. All I could see was 1,000 Christmas mornings spent alone in my room, listening to the family laugh downstairs. All I could hear was Mom saying, "Let Ethan open it." All I could feel was the betrayal the way it burned, hot and black as tar. If I were you, I whispered, I'd shut up, you've done enough damage. He recoiled as if I'd hit him, a flash in his eyes and all fear. Maybe for the first time, he realized I wasn't just the shadow he could step over. Lindsay started to cry. Daniel, it wasn't supposed to go this far. Please think about the baby. Whose baby? I spat. You sure you even know? She shrank, sobbing harder. Daniel, I made a mistake. It's not a mistake if you do it over and over and over. My voice cracked, and suddenly I was small again, 10 years old, shouting at my parents while they pretended not to hear. I remembered the way Mom would hold Ethan's hand, smoothing his hair while he faked his for the teacher he just lied to. The time Dad dropped everything to drive Ethan to the ER for a soccer sprain, but left me alone on the curb with 2 stitches bleeding down my cheek. No matter what I did, I was always invisible until now. The front door banged open. Mom and Dad swept into the living room, all wringing hands and anxious smiles, like the good luck deliverers they fancied themselves. Daniel, let's be civil, sweetheart, Mom began. You're upsetting everyone. This is a family problem, not something to air out like this. I stared at her. A family problem? Whose family, Mom? Because it sure as hell isn't mine anymore. She flinched like I'd struck her. Dad just frowned. We all have to move forward, son. Ethan and Lindsay are well, they're starting their own family. What's done is done. It all collapsed in that moment, years of not being enough, years of being told to take care of Ethan. The injustice broke something fragile inside me, and what bled out was only resolve. You want me to bankroll their new life? My breath hitched, my skin felt tight electric. Do you really think I'm going down for all of you again? Dad shrugged, cold as the Boston wind. You're the stable one, Daniel. We trust you to do the right thing, for Lindsay, for the child. The child. My child. Or Ethan's. Some nights I thought I could go mad with the not knowing. I looked around that room, at Lindsay's blanched face, Ethan's hand of guilt, my parents' thin, desperate hope. No more. I've got lawyers. I've got the footage, the text messages, every dollar Ethan's ever stolen. Don't forget the loan scams, the forged signatures. My hands stopped shaking as I stared them down. For the first time, the fear was in their eyes, not mine. None of you will get a penny from me, not now, not ever, and when this goes to court, every lie you ever told, every dirty secret you ever hid will come out. I promise you that. I saw it then, the panic washing over Ethan's face, the way Lindsay shrunk in her chair, the way my parents' confidence cracked. For one breathtaking, terrifying heartbeat, they all knew Daniel Harper, the second son, the afterthought, the invisible man, was done paying their debts. I walked out into the rain, the door slamming shut behind me like the final sentence of a story I should have ended a decade ago. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared till I was free. And I would make damn sure they never forgot how it felt to lose everything they thought they'd taken from me. The first inkling something bigger was at play came one night, 3 weeks after the showdown, when my new attorney, Sarah, called at 11:37 p.m. Her voice, tight and urgent, said, Daniel, are you awake? You need to check your email, right now. My stomach plummeted. Something about the way she said my name firmed, like I was a soldier heading into battle. I threw off the bedsheet, half expecting another bombshell from Lindsay's lawyer. More lies, more demands. But what I found in my inbox wasn't from Lindsay's camp. It was a scan of a thick, anonymous envelope postmarked from a town I barely remembered, my hometown, the one I couldn't even drive through without feeling the weight of all ghosts. Inside, pages and pages, old bank statements, emails, doctored forms that weren't mine. At the center, a single line in Ethan's blocky handwriting for the truth. I felt my breath catch. My hands went numb. Sarah was still on the phone. Do you see it? Her voice sharpened. The accounts your parents opened in your name, the ones Ethan's been funneling money through for years. For a moment, it didn't compute. Like static on a broken TV. Then all at once it landed, my own family, forging my signature, laundering Ethan's dirty money. Every tax mix-up, every call from the bank that Dad had brushed off, every time my credit score mysteriously dipped, every gift Ethan needed me to halt in my account while I was living overseas. The paranoia, the sleepless nights, the gnawing sense that my life never quite fit together the way it should if I wasn't crazy. I was hunted. A clap of thunder jolted me back. I could see them in my mind, their worried faces, the way Mom always wrung her hands and did spoke in that tired, heavy way when the subject touched money. Ethan asking for help, pleading with me, always the victim. I remembered sitting cross-legged on Ethan's bed when I was 17, afraid to tell Dad Ethan had crashed the old Honda into the mailbox. But even then, Ethan never had to pay. I took the blame, and I paid for it. Always. Now, staring at hard evidence compiled by someone desperate enough to turn on their own, something in me finally snapped the last foundation stone knocked loose. I pictured my parents dragging me into court, Mom trembling and clutching her pearls, Dad's lawyered-up scowl, demanding support, demanding loyalty from the son they'd used as a human shield. And all this time, they'd pinned Ethan's crimes petty and grand on me. Daniel? Sarah's voice again, a thin thread over the line. We can do more than just countersue. With this, they're on the hook for felony fraud. All of them, your parents, Ethan, maybe even Lindsay, if she helped. A bitter laugh bubbled up. My cheeks felt wet. I hadn't even realized I was crying. They never loved me, Sarah, not once. She was quiet, and then, they can't hurt you anymore, not after this. I wiped my eyes, feeling the well dip, as if for the first time I could finally see the shape of every shadow, every lie. A savage, magnificent clarity burned through the fear if my parents thought I'd been ruthless before. They hadn't seen anything yet. This wasn't just revenge. This was the beginning of the reckoning I should have delivered years ago. And I wasn't about to flinch. Not this time. I sat in the fluorescent glow of the courthouse, 3 months after the nightmare cracked open, numb but resolute. Court documents weighed down my briefcase. My eyes were raw, but I kept them steady. I watched as Ethan hunched forward behind the defense table, his once cocky smirk replaced by the twitch of a cornered animal. Lindsay, gaunt and silent, wouldn't meet my eyes. My parents were nowhere to be seen. They'd stopped showing up when the FBI impounded Dad's Lexus the week prior. It all came to a head like the universe was determined to squeeze every last drop of satisfaction from their downfall. The charges stuck, one after another: wire fraud, conspiracy, perjury. When Sarah submitted the audio, my own mother and father, voices cold as stone, discussing their backup plan to blackmail me for hush money, even Ethan's lawyer wilted. It was like years of whispered accusations, fake smiles across Thanksgiving turkey, all of it ricocheted right back at them. The judge's words were clear: restitution, asset forfeiture, community service, probation for my aging parents, and 6 years of prison for Ethan. His plea deal vanished when the scope of his grifting came out. Lindsay tried to claim innocence, but the emails didn't lie. Her credentials evaporated overnight, and she lost custody before the ink even dried. That night, I sat in my empty apartment with the pizza box and the sound of rain smacking the windows. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was safe. There was no one left to betray me. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, single malt, no cheap stuff, and let it burn the back of my throat. I turned over the photos of my daughter, still a baby, now finally coming home with me. The paperwork for custody felt lighter than air. Flashes from the past kept colliding inside my skull. Ethan, age 12, breaking my baseball trophy and blaming me, while my parents demanded an apology. Lindsay, nervous smile on our wedding night, her hand clutching mine, whispering forever so sweet it made me ache. Dad, silent and cold the day I left for Seoul, never hugging me goodbye, just a nod and a handshake, like I was some hired hand. Now, the roles were reversed. I wasn't the scapegoat. I wasn't the one apologizing, shrinking in shadow, wishing someone would believe my side of the story. I tried for years to be part of the idea of family, played along with their games, but family built on secrets wasn't worth saving. I once wondered if I'd feel guilty, taking everything apart, tearing down the only home I ever knew. But as I stood in the rain the morning after Ethan's sentencing, just me and my little girl in my arms, I realized the only thing I lost was a lie. My hand shook, not with regret but with relief. The chains were gone. There was nothing left to forgive. I look back now at all the wasted apologies, the careful tiptoeing around people who wouldn't have crossed the street for me if I was bleeding. I remember a kid who thought he was only worth what others left behind: a job, a woman, a sliver of respect. I'm not that man anymore. Standing in front of the mirror, holding my daughter, I finally see someone I'd want to know. Someone willing to burn a rotten legacy down to the dirt to protect what really matters. Ethan will rot, Lindsay will vanish, Mom and Dad can stew in their little rented apartment on the edge of the city, counting coins and playing the victims. Let them. I've got my own life to rebuild. My own daughter to raise, free of their poison. Some nights, when sleep comes slow and memories flicker, I hear Sarah's voice in my ear, steady, fierce, reminding me that the truth doesn't always save you, but it always sets you free. I believe her. I am free. And for the first time in my life, that freedom tastes better than any revenge could ever hope to. People love to say blood is thicker than water. But blood can poison just as easily as it can protect. I learned the hard way that being family doesn't mean you're loyal, it just means you're close enough to stab the deepest. That scar, right there under the ribs, doesn't close up fast or easy. But the truth leaves a better scar. I stopped apologizing for standing up for myself, for tracing my own history, one painful detail at a time, until the whole rotten web came to light. I watched everything I thought I wanted slip away: my marriage, my parents, the idea of a home. And then, suddenly, I didn't want them anymore. What matters now is the little girl asleep down the hall. She'll grow up free, unburdened by secrets she had no part in. I did that. I fought for something bigger than old betrayals. I fought for real peace. That's what I'll carry forward. Not shame. Not regret. Just pride that I finally chose the truth over family and myself over their lies.